love to see. Just whether or not there'll be time available before Worlds. Dupo, what a great dribble. What's going on with Vizira? What's happening here? What's the update? Oh, that's disgusting.
زي متابعين الجيم الخامس ما بين تيم فالكون وتيم
Hello everybody, it's AskPath13. Welcome back to another video, and as you can already tell, there's been a big change. There's been an update to the Falcons roster. Now this is a move that some people predicted might come, but no one certainly saw it coming this fast, or at least I didn't. There's been a change. Falcons has picked up Nopo. So for anyone that doesn't know, let me get this up on screen. Nopo is a player in the Middle East who played for a team called Cola all the way back in, I think it was fall or winter of last season. And he caught or maybe it was spring of last season actually, and he caught a ban, a year-long ban from RLCS because he played while underage and didn't get caught until he actually played while you know, the correct age. So he played one split and he actually got very well in that split. His team did got second place to Falcons, and they were really putting up a fight against Falcons, and it was really because of Nopo. He was clearly one of the best players, if not the best player in the region, and that hasn't changed in this entire time he's been banned. He still is one of, if not the best player in the region. So everyone knew in the offseason he was going to get picked up by one of these top three squads. Either Falcons, Rule 1, or Twisted Minds were going to be picking this kid up. And he got picked up by Falcons, but it was sooner than all of us expected, because they didn't just pick him up, they were picking him up in advance of Gamers 8, the huge tournament that's about to be played, and so he's now going to be on their roster. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it'll go, because he's replacing Khaled. So I'm going to pull up the only tweet I could find that confirmed this from a confirmed source, and it was Ahmad tweeting that after 5 years of teaming with Khaled, he's finally moving on. They're moving on from each other, but he really feels like Khaled's a brother of his, and he wishing him all the best. And I have to say, I do think Khaled's going to land on his feet. He is still, Khaled, is still one of the best players in the region as well. So I'd be shocked if either Rule 1 or Twisted Minds doesn't pick Khaled up, and it'll kind of be a chain effect of players leaving and joining new squads from this Nopo signing. But we don't know for sure. Honestly, it's possible Khaled might go elsewhere. I certainly don't hope he retires, but I've heard, well, this is all pure speculation by the way, but it's entirely possible he could look at other options. There are other regions that are picking up transfer players from around the world. It's possible he might want to move to North America. That's what I'm hinting at. A lot of teams and players have moved to North America in the past. I believe he speaks enough English to at least comp in the game for sure. So it's a possibility. We'll see what happens. I think it's much more likely he sticks in the Middle East, but I did want to put that out there because I saw that as an option people were talking about. But yeah, it's definitely a sad moment that Ahmad and Khaled, the longtime duo, is finally broken up. But it really sets the stage for Gamers 8 for Falcons, because I truly believe that he's going to elevate this Falcons squad. He is a player to be reckoned with. He's a player to be reckoned with in the scene, and not just Middle East. I think it's going to elevate them. They got top 8 at Worlds, and now I think they've improved their roster. So who knows where this could take them. I don't know if it puts them high enough to challenge that big 3 out of Europe, but who knows? I definitely think they're better. But speaking of challenging the big 3, there's a tournament that I've been hinting at that this is going to affect, Gamers 8. So I didn't want to make just this video about the roster move. That would be a pretty short video. So what better time to do predictions for Gamers 8 than right now? We've just heard a very bombshell roster move, because it's, for anyone that doesn't know, by the way, this Gamers 8 tournament is going to be crew battle. So let me quickly briefly explain to you the way this works. The rules are up on screen now. Compliments, by the way, to Liquipedia, the website I'm using to get these, but basically it's a crew battle. What that means is in the first game you'll play 3v3, and then for the rest of the series you'll alternate between either 2v2 or 1v1 and the 3v3 matches. So in a best of 5 scenario, which is the group stage, the teams that loses game 1 will pick, do they want to play 2v2 or do they want to play 1v1. Then game 3 will be back to 3v3. Game 4 you play the other mode if you get to a game 4. And then 5 is back to 3v3. So you're going to be playing 1s and 2s and 3s, all 3 modes. And it really makes it an exciting tournament. It makes it a unique kind of aspect that RLCS doesn't have. You get to see all the game modes, and that means that teams that have a ones player, a ones specialist on the roster have an advantage, because almost all these pros can play twos. It's the most popular game mode. Everyone practices on twos, but ones is a whole different matter. It's very different than threes. Well, twos is different than threes, but it's similar enough that there's not a huge gap. But there are players that are incredible RLCS players that are bad at ones, and they're not going to be able to put up much of a fight against some of the other teams that have players that are RLCS players that are also ones players. So a brief look at the teams here. There were some teams that got invited and some teams that qualified through an open qualifier in North America and Europe. So let's talk about it. From North America, they invited FaZe Clan, Furia, and Genji. They were inviting 2 teams from a lot of these regions, but North America got a 3rd invite because Furia is the reigning champion. So it's not even that they're from North America, it's just that Furia, when they were back as a South American team last year, won the last Gamers 8 tournament. They also got, from Europe, Karmine Corps, Team Liquid, and BDS. And BDS was a late invite. They held 1 invite to go to the highest performing Worlds team that wasn't already invited or qualified, and that ended up being Team BDS, the runners-up at the World Championship. Then you also had 2 teams from South America, Ninjas in Pajamas and Secret. Then you also had Ground Zero Gaming and Pioneers from OCE. You had 3 teams from the Middle East, Rule 1, Falcons, and Twisted Minds. 2 teams from APAC, Elevate, Gaming Gladiators, and then lastly, Limitless from Sub-Saharan Africa. But they also had 8 teams that qualified. So for North America, it was Version 1, Koi, G2, and Optic. I think notably missing is Complexity and Space Station, especially after Worlds. I think those 2 teams, everyone knows, are top 8 or at least top 10 teams in the world. And for sure, I think it's going to be missing Complexity and Space Station. I think just obviously the rules of the event, that's, it's the way it goes. Not every team plays in every tournament, but it's going to be interesting, missing them from this tournament. And then from Europe, you have Vitality, Monkeys, Oxygen, and Sa. A notable missing roster there would be Moist. Surprising to not see them. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, and it is also interesting to note that, Vitality had to qualify because the invites for this were sent out, besides for BDS, the invites were sent out before the spring split even happened. So Vitality earned their spot right before they kind of took off in RLCS. So Zen did play in that qualifier, but it was like one of their first events as a squad of 3. So, but enough about the setup. We've talked about, Nopo playing. So let me explain why that's so important. Is, as I've talked about, these alternate between 1v1s, 2v2s, and 3s. And Nopo is a renowned ones player. Now TRK is also a ones player, but it actually is still showing Ocala there, but new post just was announced today. Like, this is brand new news. He's an incredible ones player. I think he's going to elevate that squad in the crew battle format in 2s as well. I think he's going to be a massive boon to their squad. So it'll be interesting to see how they play. And now that we've talked about the format, we've talked about the teams, and about the recent roster move, we're going to get into predictions. Although I did recall there actually is one more roster move I do want to talk about. Gaming Gladiators did make a move. So they actually added Flitz, who, as you can see here, is an American. He actually is an American player, played in RLCS this season in North America. I don't think he did not make every event, but he was making main events. And he has moved on to Gaming Gladiators, an APAC team. So he's going to move across to APAC, to Asia, and play for them. So another transfer into APAC from out of the region, this time an American. A North American, but and he is also American, but so we'll see how it goes for Gaming Gladiators. I think it's an upgrade from before, but I don't think it's enough to put them over Elevate. I still think Elevate's a better squad. So we'll see how it goes. But without further ado, let's get into these predictions. But before we get into the video, I have a brief word from today's sponsor, the AskPath13 Discord server. Yeah, that's right, I'm sponsoring myself. But basically, if you want to be involved in the creation of videos, because I'm going to have some ideas that involve getting responses from viewers, or if you want to be notified when I go live, or if you just in general want to talk and discuss RLCS, when I'm not live streaming, or just, interact with me, just join the Discord server. It's nice, easy. I'm going to leave a link in the description, in the pinned comment. It should be on the screen right now. So yeah, just join the Discord server. It's going to be the easiest way to, interact with me, get notified again if I go live, all that stuff. So again, I really appreciate everyone's support, and if you want to keep supporting me, definitely join the Discord server. So yeah, thank you guys. And now let's get into the predictions. So in this group A, we got Oxygen, Ground Zero Gaming. Oxygen versus Ground Zero Gaming, I should say, then Optic versus Gaming Gladiators. The winner of Optic Gaming Gladiators plays G2. the winner of Ground Zero Auction plays Vitality. So in this groups format, they did give some teams buys. And honestly, I agree with their buys. I think given the teams that are in the tournament, their buys make sense. The teams that got, that extra win, like they didn't have to play as many matches, would be Vitality, G2, Karmine Corp, Falcons, BDS, Gen G, and Liquid Rule 1. And I think that these are probably the top 8 seeds going into the tournament. I don't think you could disagree. I know a lot of people are going to say version 1's quite good, but they're unproven. And I think it's fair to give 8 teams that perform well in RLCS these slots, especially because almost all of these 8 teams have a once player to varying degrees. I know G2 doesn't really have a strong once player. And then Karmine Corp doesn't necessarily have a strong ones player, although Vatira does play once. So, but it'll be interesting to see, and I think that's fair as our top 8 seeds. But yeah, let's get into this predictions. First up, Ground Zero Auction. I don't like how Auction played at Worlds. They really, in my opinion, underperformed, but I don't see Ground Zero beating them. That said, I think Ground Zero put up way more of a fight than I expected against Karmine Corp back at the Spring Major, when Ground Zero, by the way, the last international tournament they played was the Spring Major, and they beat Karmine Corp 2 games in a row. If this was a pure threes match, I might give it a best of 5 again, like all the way to game 5, although I do think Auction would take it. But especially given that this is a crew battle, I think Auction are pretty clear, because they have Jorias, they have Archie, who either of them could play ones, whereas Ground Zero, you're really looking at Super Lucky, and he's not a ones player. So I feel like, unless one of their other players is a ones player and I don't know about it, and even then, I think you favor Auction. So I'm going to go Auction here 3-1. I'll say Ground Zero do take one of the threes game, just because they tend to do that early on in these series against European teams. But now let's get into Optic Gaming Gladiators. Another one that I feel is going to be pretty one-sided, and I'm probably even going to call it a sweep, because I feel like AJ is an incredible ones player on Optic, and I don't think anything Gaming Gladiators do is going to stop them in ones, twos, or threes. Alright, let's get into this next round. Vitality Auction, pretty much as everybody would expect. I'm going to call that a sweep. I think Vitality are the clear favorites going into this, and Crew Battle doesn't change that at all. Zen is an incredible ones player, perhaps second best in the world. Some might even say best, but I'd say second best to Roas. So when you have like one of the best ones players, you are the best threes team. And then Zen's also good at twos, and he's, either Alpha 54 or Redosin, both are great teammates. They're going to stomp in all 3 game modes. So definitely Vitality sweep there. And then G2 Optic is a very close one. I think I'm going to favor Optic because of AJ. I think ones is going to be where Optic shines. So I think I'll favor them a little bit there in the head-to-head. And now let's get into these lower quarterfinals before we go any further. And it's really interesting here. I don't want to say Ground Zero definitely goes out 2-0, but I feel like they're at a huge disadvantage. And I think G2 can get the job done again. I'll give them a game, but I'm not very confident in Ground Zero there. Meanwhile, on this other side, same thing. I really don't like how Auction played at Worlds, but they're still not a terrible team. They got the win. Who did they beat, actually? I'm not going to recall offhand who they beat at Worlds, but I know they got a win. They only lost to G1 in the end, so to get eliminated. So not enough of a bad Worlds to make me feel like Gaming Gladiators has a real chance. But I'll give Gaming Gladiators one game. Maybe they should come out and surprise a 3v3 or a 2v2. So I'll give them a game win there. Then we're moving on to Auction G2. I think this is pretty clearly G2. Maybe give Auction the ones match, but I think you favor G2 in the other game modes. So now let's get into this. Vitality Optic, I've already talked about it. I feel like Vitality is going to be sweeping their way through a lot of these. I want to give Optic a game, but I'm not sold. I'm not sold, and it's not that Optic's a bad team. It's that Vitality is so good that I don't think AJ, for example, can take the ones. I don't think Redall's a Magic Bear. I think there's going to be their twos. Structure is they're going to have Redall's Magic Bear do twos. I don't think they're going to take twos either, so if they did take a game, it would probably be threes, but there's no guarantee at all with Vitality, obviously, so no guarantee at all. And then we get into Optic G2, and now again it's a rematch, a very close one. I'm just going to stick it the same. A lot of times when you have a rematch, the team that lost the first time will win, so I definitely could see G2 taking this, but I don't know. I think Optic can do it. I'm I want to believe. I want to believe. I'm an Optic fan, by the way, if you didn't know, so a little bit of bias, but I definitely believe it's going to be these two in the lower final. I feel very confident about that. So I feel like we're going to see that match. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I think Optic got it. So now let's move into Group B. And Group B here is an interesting one because you got Twisted Minds Elevate starting it off. Then as well, Ninjas Pajamas, Monkeys, Genji, BDS. But I really want to highlight this match because I feel like Elevate played out of their minds at the World Championship. I feel like they really showed that they belong in these types of events. And maybe call me crazy, but I think Elevate could win a series here at this Gamers 8 tournament. They're going to struggle in ones. I think they can handle themselves in twos, but as far as I know, they don't have a ones player. So they're probably going to struggle there. Twisted Minds, I don't think they have a ones player either. So I think this could be a match Elevate take. I don't want to underrate Twisted Minds because they played very well at the World Championship, and I do think Twisted Minds is the better threes team. So I am going to give them the win, but I really think Elevate can put up some fight here at Gamers 8. Let's move on to Ninjas Pajamas Monkeys. Monkeys, for anyone that doesn't know, is the squad that used to be called Luna Galaxy. They were picked up by Luna Galaxy last split, and I believe it's, let's check, Metane, Smokes, and Raziers. Raziers is definitely going to stand out here. Raziers had an incredible, Raziers had an incredible highlight performance at last Gamers 8, and although he kind of was not like super notable and he had any pop-offs this RLCS season, he's still a really good player, and he could bring them some wins here in this tournament. And Smokes is an up-and-coming RLCS player as well. Metane a long time, probably the most veteran, maybe alongside Raziers of the three. So that'll be an interesting matchup. I don't think Monkeys are guaranteed to win. I almost feel like they are favored over NIP though, although I don't want to underrate how well South America's done. So NIP, actually Ninjas Pajamas might be winning those ones matches. I'm not sure. Well, maybe a favor Raziers. Another game 5. I'm not sold, but I am going to pick Monkeys. But I do think Ninjas Pajamas could easily win that. I don't want to just pick the Monkeys because they're the European team. That's not this at all. It's really more of a knowing Razier's history in this tournament. And I'm still not sold because obviously Ninjas Pajamas, they looked really good at the World Championship, but they lost both their matches. So I'm still not sold on how they'll do. But now let's look at, this is going to set up spicy because if we go here in BDS Twisted Minds, I really favor BDS there. I think you have to. Maybe even a sweep, but I'll call it 3-1. And the reason why is Twisted Minds are good, but BDS are the better threes team. And I feel like BDS are also favored, especially in ones, but in twos as well. So, gotta favor BDS there. If we go to Genji Monkeys, I think you favor the team with the bye. Apparently Jack is a well-known ones player, Chronic as well. In fact, Nali even's played one show matches, so all three have played ones in the past, but apparently Jack probably the most notable. I think they can knock him down in all three game modes. I still think Monkeys will take the game though, but okay, so moving on here, very spicy matchup here. Elevate versus Monkeys. I'm a bit of a fan of Elevate, but I don't know. I feel like they could do it. And I said this at last event, and they actually did. They beat G1, and besides the whole fact that G1 kicked a player and all that, I think Monkeys are a weaker team than G1. So could Elevate beat them? I think so. It's no guarantee though, and I think the big problem is going to be that ones match. They have to play ones match. So that's like a guaranteed loss for Elevate. But I think they can win 3 out of 4 games against Monkeys and take that series. So we'll see how it goes. Next up, Ninjas Pajamas versus Twisted Minds. Oh, a spicy one. I don't want to underrate NIP, but I'm not sold. And Twisted Minds also kind of bombed out. Who did they play? They had to play one of the top teams. Perhaps it was maybe Genji. I don't remember. Their first round didn't go great, and they also lost, obviously, the second round 2-1. Although that was a somewhat close series. I'll say, I think home crowd advantage has an impact on events like this, especially. And by the way, this event is held in Saudi Arabia. I don't think I mentioned. In fact, just so everyone is aware, if you didn't know why this tournament is so important, because it's a non-RLCS tournament. It's not even, threes. Like, why are there all these top teams coming out? It's because the prize pool is $2 million. So that's why. It's a huge tournament in terms of prize pool. And obviously that shouldn't be why a tournament's important solely. But it is a big deal. The players care a lot. And it obviously helps the players, to have the chance to win so much money. So it is a big deal in terms of winning that money for the players. And because of that, all the top teams are there. And because all the top teams are there, most of them anyway, definitely an important event. So all that to say, it's in Saudi Arabia. There is a bit of a home crowd advantage. There's no flight, you know, no jet lag or any potential of that. So I think you could favor Twisted Minds, but I think they're losing the ones matches for sure. So I'll call that a best of 5. A lot of best of 5s. I feel like this group's more close, perhaps because Vitality is so clear in the other group, but a lot of close matches here. Now it's Elevate Twisted Minds, and you know, I'm gonna flip it. I had Twisted Minds beat them once, but I have said this before, although I often break my own rules. I think in a rematch, I think you usually favor the team that lost the first time if it was a close, if it was like a game 5. So I'm gonna favor Elevate. It'll be a close one. I would love to see Realize taking the 1v1 and winning, just because that would mean so much, but you never know. You never know. We'll see how it goes. I don't think that's necessarily likely, but I think this is very possible for sure. Maybe a favorite Twisted Minds like 60-40, but I think Elevate have that decent 40% chance at winning, so we'll see. Now we're on to the upper bracket final, and again, I think you favor BDS. I think they're going to be the favorites throughout this group stage. And then when it comes down to Genji Elevate, probably favor Genji. You probably favor Genji. But Elevate would have a good run in this scenario. And now I'm just curious. Whoever loses, like G2 Elevate here, I'm curious how much they don't get. So this would be like top 12. $50,000. So it is a big deal going from top 16 to top 12. I guess every jump's a big deal, but interesting. A lot of money on the line here for each series win is a lot of money. So now let's get into Group C. We're halfway done here with groups, and then we have playoffs as top 8 single elim. Best of 7s in this format. But let's get into here. FaZe Pioneers. A lucky draw for FaZe. I really have not rated FaZe very highly after all the drama. I don't even think that... I think, because people obviously talk about him, I think First Killer is a great player. I still think he has what it takes to eventually win a major. Maybe not Worlds, but I feel confident he is going to win a major one day. Not with this squad. Whatever it is, it's not working with Sypical and Mist. And I don't rate them highly at all. But of all the teams they could play, I also don't rate Pioneers well at all. I don't think Pioneers showed a lot at the World Championship, and I didn't rate them that highly coming in. So I definitely favor FaZe here, but I think it's ironic that they got to play Pioneers. Like, if they'd been in a group like Group B, I'm not so sure. Or even Group A, or especially Group D, actually. Probably the toughest group, Group D. I think FaZe would be not be winning that first series, but that's the way it rolls. That's the way the bracket goes. So next up, Furia Limitless, and this one I don't even need to talk about it much. It's going to be a sweep. Furia didn't do great at the spring major, but they are still a competent team. They won a regional in North America. They made the spring major. Competent team, especially they won the last Gamers 8, so they have experience in this True Battles format. I think they're going to take down Limitless in a sweep there. So. Moving on to KCAR FaZe, and I've already talked about it, but I don't rate FaZe at all, so I feel like Army Corps sweeps this. Even First Killer has lost 1v1s to Europe in the past, like to European players. In last year's Gamers 8, FaZe made top 4, but when they got eliminated by a team called Guild. CRR, who's now on Complexity, beat First Killer in a 1v1. I could easily see Vatira beating First Killer in a 1v1 on the right day. So yeah, I'm not too confident there for FaZe to even take a game, even take a 1v1. Next up is Falcons Furia. Now, this was originally going to be a very spicy matchup, and I still think it is, but I think Falcons are much better with the Snowpo pickup than they are. I already was rating them highly going into an event like this because, again, home crowd, they did well last time. They got semifinals, but they lost to Furia last time. But I think the tables have turned. I think this Falcons squad is going to turn over a new leaf with Nopo. And part of it is I feel like a lot of teams have it. I think they're going to go on a honeymoon phase. When you pick up a new player, sometimes you're playing well together. It's like call it honeymoon phase, and it doesn't last forever. But I think when you combine the fact that they're likely to have a honeymoon phase with the fact that they're all so good and Nopo's so cracked individually, that you gotta favor Falcons. I'll give Furia a game just out of respect to the fact that they did beat them a year ago, last season. And I think Furia is still a good squad. They still have Yan, they still have Card, a really good team. So maybe they take a game. I'm not even sold. It could be a sweep. Now let's get into Pioneers Furia in these lowers. And you got to rate Furia. I've already talked about it. I don't really rate Pioneers too highly at all. So we'll give them a game. We'll give them a game. But I'm not sold. I'm not sold. And again, FaZe benefiting from this bracket. I can't believe this. What a bracket that they get Pioneers and then they get Limitless. But that's just the way it rolls. I definitely favor FaZe there. It's not that Sub-Saharan Africa looked terrible at the wild card, but it was the wild card and they didn't do well. Limitless only beat Valiant, the other Sub-Saharan Africa team, and Valiant only took one game off of Power, a OCE team. So not a lot of games taken off top teams, no series won besides against themselves. So Sub-Saharan Africa is still looking like they need more time to develop, and I think they will develop one day, but we're still a while off. But I'm actually really glad that the organizers for Gamers 8 do invite every region. I'm a proponent of inviting every region, at least one representative, so that, you know, they have that chance to develop over time. And now moving on, we got Furia FaZe. I think Furia FaZe have not looked good, and I've said it. I'll say it again. I think this FaZe clan needs a roster move pronto. I don't know if it's First Killer leaving and forming a new team or what, but I think First Killer needs some new teammates to potentially, you know, get back to that top level. All right, now we got our top 3 here in this group, and I think all 3 could qualify, but the one that I feel most confident in qualifying, surprisingly, is Falcons. I think a lot of people would say K-Corp, but they are the better 3s team, even with Nopo, and that's not like 100%, but I'm pretty sure, but they're definitely not the best crew battles team. Because with Nopo, I feel like you gotta favor Falcons. They're gonna get a 1v1 and a 2v2 in there. At worst, like I feel like it's gonna go the distance. By the way, they could only get 1 if they win in a sweep, but I feel like you gotta favor Falcons. Especially with Nopo, you gotta favor him. So favor him there, and that leaves Furia in a tough spot. I don't think they have what it takes to take down Karmine Corp, but I don't think it'll be a sweep. But I don't think they have what it takes. And all right. So that leaves us with one group remaining. We got, so far we got Vitality Optic, we got BDS Gen G, and we got Falcons Karmine Corp. So an interesting showing so far. And I think that I feel pretty confident about BDS Gen G, and I feel very confident about Falcons K-Corp. Very, very confident about Vitality. Optic G2 is probably the closest one. I feel like either of these two teams could move on. So that's one of the closest, like, will they make playoffs? Won't they make playoffs? G2 versus Optic. Look to that match. It'll be a very exciting match. All right, into Group D though, we got version 1 SA, and although I'm not high on version 1 at all, I do think you favor them over SA. I feel like they're so talented as a squad and as, you know, individuals that you gotta imagine they're winning the 2v2s, the 1v1s. So I feel like they can take them down. But no guarantees for version 1, definitely not. And next up we got Secret Koi. I don't want to underrate Koi, but they qualified with a sub playing their ones matches. They had 4 players playing in their qualifier. They played with a player called Season 5 or S5 Cosmic, but I think it's pronounced Season 5 Cosmic. He is a ones main, a good ones player, but not an RLCS player, and they only picked him up for the qualifier. And I believe they wanted to bring him, but the rules for this event are, for whatever reason, you can play with 4 players in the qualifier, but you can't for the main event. I don't really know why, but for whatever reason, they can't bring him, so they're not going to have a ones main, and Secret will. KV1, incredible player. So I feel like you favor Secret for sure. And I'll even call that 3-1. I feel like you favor Secret there. Alright, so moving on here, we got Liquid version 1. And you favor Liquid. They have a Tau, or a Toe, or whatever you say it, an Oski even, that could also do ones, but especially a Tau. So they're going to be winning those ones matches, a very dominant 2 squad. And I feel like I think people are overrating how version 1's going to do when they didn't even make a LAN with this roster. Yes, Daniel and Beast Mode are good. That's why I have them beating SA. I think they're a talented team. But I'm not sold. I'm not sold on beating Liquid after getting top 4 at Worlds. Yeah. I don't see it. I don't see it. I'll give them a game, but I don't see it at all. Good news for them though, that sets up a match with their other North American team, but we'll talk about that in a moment. We got Rule 1 Secret here, and yes, Rule 1 had a disappointing. They had a disappointing World Championship, but still, I feel like Secret. I feel like they're better than Secret. I'm not sure either way, but similar. I think when I was talking about Twisted Minds. Or not Twisted Minds. It was Twisted Minds. versus NIP. I feel like similar thing here. Perhaps you give them the home advantage, and then lack of jet lag might make a difference. And I mean, Rule 1 are probably going to be the best one of the best 1s and 2s teams as well. So I feel like you favor them over Secret, but another close one there. Now we go into the lower bracket. We got Sa, Team Secret. I think you favor Team Secret. I don't want to underrate Sa. Let's quickly talk about them. Another team you may not have heard of. Mike Boy, Tho, and Hibbs. Not a terrible team, but not again a team that might struggle in the 1s and 2s. I think Tho has played 1s, but he's not a dominant 1s player. And yeah, I'm actually surprised they qualified, but good on them. You know, good on them to qualify. They had a top 8 in Regional 1 of Spring, but they kind of fell off after that, and they weren't really good before that either. So they kind of like had a really good peak performance near the start of Spring Split, because that was when this qualifier happened, right before the start, and then the first regional, and they kind of fell off. So I'm not too sure they can take down Secret. Alright, next up, Koi version 1. I do favor, now Koi have actually beat version 1. Let me fact check that. I believe Koi beat version 1 though. They did in the 3rd regional. So in a 3s match, Koi have taken him down. I don't think, and it was a game 5 overtime, so I don't think you favor them every time, and I don't favor them here. But I'm going to give them 2 games because I feel like they're going to put up more of a fight than version 1 might expect. Or perhaps version 1 won't underestimate him after what happened in Spring Regional 3. But I think you have to go with version 1 in this rematch because it technically is a rematch, especially with Crew Battle. But Koi could put up a fight. They could put up a fight. And that'll leave us with Team Secret version 1, which is a very interesting matchup. I'm not sure how it'll go. Let me go back to this. So we got, really quickly here, we got version 1, obviously, Beast Mode Daniel. And then we got Secret, Night, Sad, KV1. KV1, a well-known player, probably the best player in South America, potentially. He didn't win the MVP, that was Jerfinho. It's between him and Jerfinho, I'd say, right now. And, which, speaking of that, Crew was not invited and didn't have a chance to qualify for this event, so no Crew. But, I think KV1 can beat Daniel in once. I'm not sure, but I think it's possible. And if I feel like the 1s is possible, and the 2s and 3s are definitely possible, especially 3s. And, you know, they play the most 3s. If it goes to best 5, they play 3s games, and they play 2 3s games before it's a sweep. So I feel like you favor Secret. I'll give it a game 5, and I'm not saying version 1 definitely exit in groups, but they have a tough time in groups because even if they can beat Secret, they have to beat either or both, actually, Liquid or Rule 1. One or both of them to qualify. At least one of Liquid or Rule 1 they have to beat, and I don't think they could. So it's not even a big deal here, Secret, because, well, now that's a little revealing. But let's get into this next match here. So Liquid Rule 1, I'm not sure. I'm going to favor Liquid just because of Worlds, and again, it's heavily 3s, but Rule 1 could take that depending on how it goes. Because if they can beat, all they need to do is win 1 3s game against Liquid, and they could definitely take them down, but no guarantees there. So I'll say Liquid. Then we got Rule 1 Secret, and I'm going to favor Rule 1, which is what I'm getting at. Is I feel like you got to favor, and I know this is a different scoreline, I just feel like Rule 1 are going to be more motivated here on the brink of elimination. I've actually said this before. I think Rule 1 plays better when they're on the brink of elimination. Or maybe that's just because they had a great Spring Major and I'm just like self-biasing, but I feel like they played better in the Spring Major when they were in the lower bracket. So, I don't know. I just feel like they play better in lowers. So we'll see. This match, I don't think it's going to matter much when you have to run into Rule 1 or Liquid, so. Alright though, we got our top 8, we got our playoffs matches set up, so let's see what they are here. Spicy matchups. Very spicy matchups. I think most interesting standout to me is another BDS K-Corp rematch. Team Liquid Genji, that's a new one. That one could go either way. That one might be a coin flip. Then we got Falcons Optic. You favor Falcons, I mean, which is like potentially you would even favor Falcons in 3s, but it's Crew Battle. So one of the Middle East teams getting a clear favorite matchup, and then the other one, the opposite, a challenging matchup, and one that they lost. They got swept by Vitality in the Spring Major, and I don't know if Crew Battles is going to help them. So let's start. Let's start there. I do think Vitality take this, and I think you give Rule 1 one of the 2v2 or 1v1 games, but I feel like Vitality are gonna be pretty solid there. No guarantee Rule 1 go out so early, but again, this isn't even early. It is top 8 with a lot of prize money. But I do think you favor Vitality again. Tough matchup for Rule 1, but what can you do? Which actually, if this does happen, this will again be a scenario where a team that lost to Liquid, if this happens the way I predicted, where losing to Liquid sets you up in a bad bracket. Because if you beat Liquid, then look where Rule 1 would be, Gen G, and a much easier matchup than Vitality. Although still not a guarantee, but an easier matchup. So let's keep going here. We got BDS, K-Corp. I feel like BDS Crew Battle helps them even more, and I already feel like they're pretty clear over Crumbing Core, especially head-to-head. So we'll give that 4-2 BDS. Meanwhile, Falcons Optic. I feel like you favor Falcons, especially with Nopo. I don't want to say Optic are going to do terrible, but I don't think they can do a lot against the Falcons with Nopo. So we'll call that 4-1. And I'd love to see Optic do better and beat Falcons. That would be quite the story, to beat Falcons on their own turf in Saudi Arabia, but no guarantees there. Then you got Liquid, Gen G. I'm going to go a little spicy here. I'm going to pick Gen G. I think Liquid are probably the on-paper favorites, but with the whole crew battle format and the fact that Gen G have actually gone the distance and won a major and Liquid haven't, I could see Gen G here, and we'll call it a Game 7. Alright, so moving right along, Vitality BDS, and this sets up a international grand final, which I love to see, but it means another non-international semifinal. Meh, but that's alright. I think you have to favor Vitality. I think BDS could take a fight to them, but it's Vitality. Until they lose, I'm going to keep predicting them because it's just how it is. They haven't lost yet. After the offseason, it'll be a bit of a difference, and maybe we'll see something change, but I don't think this close off the World Championship win that they're going to drop the ball at all. So next we got Falcons Gen G. This one's going to be a close one, but with Falcons, Nopo, again, it's Nopo. I don't see how you could favor... It'll be a close one. But I think that Falcons are now a better 3s team, a better 2s team, and a better 1s team, all wrapped in one with that new player. So I feel pretty confident they can take down Gen G. So that leaves us with Vitality Falcons. And even with all the, I'm sure, the pressure of the crowd, because the crowd's going to be cheering on Falcons, even with all the pressure, I think Vitality can do it and win again. But just because it'll be fun to watch, I'll call it another Game 7, a really high stakes Game 7 there. And that's how I'm predicting it'll go. So we'll see how it goes. I have Vitality winning, Falcons getting 2nd place, and Gen G BDS your semifinalists. We'll see it for sure, but I just realized the whole placements is right here on the left, so you can see all the placements here. And I think this was an easier time predicting than Worlds. I feel a little bit more confident about a lot of these calls. No guarantees, and no one's perfect, least of all me, so if you disagree, let me know in the comments. I'm sure there's a particular match or even multiple that you're upset at me about, so go ahead, tell me in the comments why I'm wrong. A lot of times, especially if you're respectful, I totally, love hearing what people think, and again, I've been wrong, I'll be wrong again, so we'll see how it goes. If you did enjoy this prediction videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribing is the #1 way to help me grow, and it also helps you get notified when I put out new videos, so I really appreciate it. And yeah, with that, I think I'll leave it here. I really appreciate all your support, and I'll see you guys in the next video.